We want to welcome you to the 2021 version of North Carolina Heritage Fair. North Carolina Heritage Fair is the Hiddenite Arts and Heritage Center's longest running program. We started it all the way back in 1982. In 1982, we wanted to create an environment, and it was pretty much done in this room, where we brought about 20 heritage demonstrators, and they were demonstrators that best exemplified life around 1850 in the foothills of North Carolina, or better said, right here in Alexander County. But we wanted to have a teaching tool that would flesh out the vision of Mr. and Mrs. R.Y. Sharp, who were the founders of the Hiddenite Arts and Heritage Center, and their love, their passion for the traditional art forms that were right here in this area where they both grew up. It came to be the core of their mission statement to share not only with school children, but with the public at large, and probably more important than anything, people with whom this was a part of their life, a part of their background. And we saw North Carolina Heritage Fair as a way to extend that knowledge and connect those people back to their roots, and also give it a place that those roots could grow new fruit for the future. And so North Carolina Heritage Fair began in 1982. And school children, we started with fourth graders because they were the ones who studied North Carolina history and heritage at the time. And so we brought them here, and they were able to watch at close range people creating things like leatherwork and pottery, and spinners creating yarn on wheel, pieces of woven materials being done on looms, and anything that we could reach back into 1850 and say, this is what life looked like then. This is what their life was like. This was the skills that they needed, and present it in such a way that school children didn't see it as tedious work, but a very vital part of everyday life, which is what traditional art forms are anyway. And so with that, Heritage Fair was born. And so this year we are doing it a little differently and giving you a virtual heritage tour that you can share. And I know that you will enjoy it as you observe, learn, remember, and find a way to pass that on, because that's certainly what we're doing here and is our mission here at the Hiddenite Arts and Heritage Center. Enjoy it. The next demonstrator section that you will see for North Carolina Heritage Fair is by actually retired high school art teacher Sandra Gwaltney. But Sandra also has an additional passion to having been an art teacher all her life, and that is the understanding of colonial life for children. And she has really focused, honed in on the toys and things that colonial era children would have had access to. But of course, it all had to be handmade. And so we really appreciate her expertise in what she will demonstrate for you today, things that maybe were picked up in the blacksmith shop, or maybe they were made from items picked up in the woodworking shop, and certainly things that were made from scraps of fabric. And then she's going to finish out with things made right in the garden. And so we are so happy to welcome her as part of Heritage Fair this year, and are sure that you'll enjoy seeing how children would have played in 1850, and they didn't go out of style either. Thanks for joining us.
If you had lived in 1840 instead of 2021, you would have played with toys that are similar to the ones here on this table. They are toys that do not have batteries. You would not have your cell phone, you wouldn't have your iPad, you wouldn't have a flashlight. You wouldn't have any of those toys that make noises and move around by themselves that are run on batteries. You also probably would not have a toy that had been bought in a store. Your parents or you yourself would have made your own toys. Girls, you would have played with dolls. You were going to grow up one day to be a mother, so you played with dolls so that you could learn how to take care of the babies. Now, your dolls might have been made from rags. They might have been made from a handkerchief. They might have been made from yarn, or they could have been made from a corn shuck, or lots of other things. But you would have made your own. Now, boys, you would not have played with a doll. Boys did not play with dolls. Daddies didn't have time to help with the children, so he didn't take care of babies, and so boys, you didn't grow up to learn to take care of babies. You played with wood. Your daddy would have been too busy to help with the kids because he would have been hunting, he would have been plowing the fields, he would have been building the houses and fences and furniture. So boys played with wood. They might have played with a slingshot. With that slingshot, they would have gone out and gotten rabbits and squirrels, and they would have brought those home for Mama to cook for supper. You might have made a do-nothing grinder. This grinder doesn't do a thing except go round. But these parts right in here are called dovetail joints. Dovetail joints are used in making furniture. So if you could make this, you could make furniture. You might have made a ball toss. You might have made a top, or you even could have made Jacob's ladder. But again, you would have worked with wood. Now, boys and girls would have played with pinwheels, but they wouldn't sit around inside and do this. They would have went outside. They would have had a race with their brothers, sisters, cousins, race to see who could go the fastest to make their pinwheel go the fastest. But also boys, you might have worked with metal. If you were working in the blacksmith shop, you might have made a puzzle similar to this. The ring will come off. You just have to give it get the ring in the middle, give it a half twist, work the horseshoes together, and the ring comes off. To put it back on, slide them apart, and when you get close to the top, give it that half twist. If you don't give it the half twist, it falls off. Or you might have bent some nails. And if you will make it go in the shape of a heart, take the heads past each other and roll it on around, they will come off. To put them back, put the points in the circles, take the heads past each other, and they're back together. If it were a rainy day, your mother maybe gave you a button and a string. Now, if your button has 2 holes, you take the string and go through one hole, and then turn around and go back through the other hole, and then tie the ends in a knot. And you keep those so that you have string on both sides of the button. You can also use a 4-hole button. Let me get it here. But if you use a 4-hole button, you have to use diagonal holes for it to work. Now, when you put these on your fingers, make sure you have it on your fingers and then close your fist. If you try to hold it between finger and thumb and then roll it and pull it, you're going to lose it. So put it on your fingers, close your fist, and then you have to roll it a lot. Once you get it rolled up a lot, then you start pulling and releasing, pulling, releasing, pulling, releasing, pulling, releasing. It makes a noise. Whoop, and my string just broke because I've used it a lot. But for a smaller button, use a string similar to a kite string. And if you have a really large button, you could even use yarn. But yarn on a really light button like this plastic one, the button won't make it turn, so you have to use smaller string. Or your mother maybe just gave you a piece of string. Now you need a piece of string that's just a little bit over a yard long. You need to tie the ends together, and this trick is called cup and saucer. It's one of the basic tricks, so that when you turn it, it looks like a bowl and a plate, or a cup and saucer. From that one, you can do the Eiffel Tower by taking your teeth and grabbing the middle here and letting go of your thumbs. This string's been used a lot, so I'm not going to do that. But you can make Eiffel Tower from it. My great-grandmother taught me how to do Jacob's Ladder. And that is one of the more difficult tricks. But there is Jacob's Ladder. And from Jacob's Ladder, you can do several other things. You can make Jacob's tomb. You can make Grandpa's overalls. There's lots and lots of different tricks. Most people know the cat's cradle, or they've been taught that when they were young. But they do make books that show you how to do all kinds of string tricks. Okay. Now, boys and girls would have played some board games. Now, the one you see on the very front of the table here is called Mancala. It came from Egypt, or the first ones we know of were from Egypt. They carved some of those into the stones of pyramids. So we know that they had them a long time ago. Most of that game came to this country by way of Africa. And in Africa, it is known as a man's game. However, women do play it, and some of them are pretty good at it. But a man does not challenge a woman if she's really good, because if she plays and wins, he will never live it down. His friends will never let him live it down. So in Africa, it is considered a man's game. Now, there is a 9 men's Morris game also that is one of the oldest, and I don't have a board of it, but it's also called the Mill Game. It was used by Roman soldiers over 2,000 years ago. So we have games around that have been around a long time and are still being played. But next, I am going to show you the steps of making a corn shuck doll. And get situated here. I have a board that has some of the steps. I do the head first. Then I'll make the arms and put on some hands so that it looks neat. Then I'll put the bottom of the sleeve. Then the head and the sleeve will go together. Then the shirt will go on. And after that, you decide whether to make it a boy or a girl. I do girls mostly because they stand up by themselves. I hadn't figured out how to make the boy do that, so I like to make the girls. But people did not waste anything in 1840. They used everything that they had. Corn shucks have been made into dolls. They've been made into push brooms. I have seen hats, pocketbooks, and even a chair bottom being made out of corn shucks. So again, people did not waste anything. We tend to throw away a lot of stuff today, but years ago, they used it instead of throwing it away. Now, I work with my corn shucks wet, because if you don't, they're going to crackle and break. But now, once you get them good and wet, You can even crunch them up into a ball, and they're still good. So I use little strips. Now they do tear easily from top to bottom, and I use those little strips to tie, like the waist. Just everywhere I tie anything, I'll use a little piece of corn shuck. The only thing on the doll that is not from the corn, inside the head, I use cotton balls. Originally, they would have just taken little pieces of corn shuck and they would have just wadded them up and used them inside the head, but I use the cotton balls. But they would take a piece of corn shuck, find the smoothest side, and let's say this is the cotton ball that you wad up to put in there. You would wrap it around, give that a twist, and pull it down, and then tie it at the neck. So that's the way it looks. So there's the head. To make the arms, I would find a stiff piece of the corn shuck so that I could roll it. Now I have used a piece of wire in that before, so that if I wanted to make the doll hold a basket, if I had wire in the arm, then I could bend it so that a basket could be hooked over it. But for most of the ones I make, I just leave them plain and just let them come down to the side a little bit. But roll it real tight, and then take your little strip and tie it on the end. Tie it in a knot. Don't pull too tight or it'll break. But tie it in a knot. And then I don't use the whole thing. I'll come to about there. I'll tie it, and then I'll cut that off so that it looks like this. The next thing I do is put the hand, because I don't want to see that ugly little end in there. So in making the hand, you have to get just a little bit wider strip. Again, roll it around the end of it and fold it. Clip that off, and I'll just use this to tie it. Now once the hands are tied on there, then I will put the end of the sleeve. Now you can see the hand in there, and it's all covered so that it's got a nice little end piece so that you don't see all that curled up corn shuck. But for the sleeve, I don't need a very huge piece, but I'll take it and fold it, and then I'm going to put the end of the hand kind of along the fold, and when I wrap that around, I'll stick one side in the other, and then I'll come down here and tie that. Once I tie it, I'll take my scissors and cut off all that extra part that was pulled over there. I don't want to cut what I've already put on there. Once that is cut, then I take the head and I'll separate those two pieces, wrap it around the arm, take another piece, and tie it. Now it doesn't matter if I tie it in front or back, because it's going to be covered up by the shirt. There's some things that I like to knot in the back so that the knot doesn't show. Like when I do the head, I'll tie the knot in the back of the head so that it won't show at the throat when I put the bonnet on. Now once I get that done, I'll take some smaller pieces to make the shirt. I like to fold one edge of that to make it a little bit neat where it goes against the neck. And just let the middle of it be there at the shoulder. Pull it down there. I'll do the other one like that too, and tie it at the waist. Once that's done, we're ready to either decide whether we're going to make it a boy doll or a girl doll. Now, in putting on the pants or the skirt, I turn the doll upside down. I find some big pieces, especially for the girls, and put it down over here. With the boy doll, you don't have to put as much because the pants don't take up as much room, but you put those pieces, one in front, one in back, and I'll usually put one to the sides. If you're starting a doll by yourself, you may want somebody to help you on your first one, because sometimes it's kind of hard to hold and tie. But after you get those that way, sometimes I tie this twice. I'll tie it first to kind of hold it in place, and then I'll tie it again where it's tighter and it's going to hold a little bit better. I didn't get a really big string there. I should have got a thicker one. But I would tie that again with another string, and I'd tie it up here to make sure that I'm covering where I tied the shirt. Once I cover that, once it is tied up there, then I can turn it upright and I'll fold this down to make the skirts. And if I'm gonna make a boy doll, I would just split these, separate it. I would tie a waist like it's on this one, and then I would split these and tie at the bottom, at the ankles, and then just cut it off even. But with the girl doll, once you get the skirt on, then I need to cut it off even at the bottom, because lots of times I'll use corn shucks that are really long and really short. So I just take it and cut it off. But when you cut that, the proportion for the human is head to hip is equal hip to the foot. So if I cut that off right here, it's gonna look really, really strange. So what I'm gonna do, this is her waist, and when you put your arm down by your waist, your elbow is at your waist, and your wrist is at your hips. So her hips are about right here. So if I take this and measure, I can cut off about this much. Then I will take a piece of wire, which I had one here, I'm not sure what I did with it, but I'll take a piece of wire and put it around here until it dries, and that will let it stand up. And once it dries, you can take that wire off and you'll be okay. To make the apron, I take another piece of corn shuck, and I like to fold it in at the top to make it look nice. And it's going to be a lot shorter than the skirt. So I'll go ahead and cut it off across there. You do a neat job though. Don't get in a hurry. Now, if you take the corn shuck and you twist it, it's going to make it a little bit stronger, so where you can take that and tie it at the waist and make the waist. I'm not sure I got one long enough. Okay, pretend I got that tied. Your last step is to make the bonnet. And again, I like to fold the edge of it to make it neat, so that where it's going to be at the front of the face. Get it to where it goes in at the neck, and then on the back of the bonnet, you can fold it or you can just gather it don't have it stick out too far. And then take your string and tie it here at the neck and then cut off that extra. Then the only thing you have left to do is put on the hair. Now the hair is actually dried corn silk. And I just take a little bit of it and stuff it up under the bonnet. I don't even glue it. Now on the guy, I had to glue to get him hair. But on the girls, I just stick it up under the bonnet and then you have your completed doll. Okay? Thank you.